Hey guys, it's Emily, the controversial mom, and I am wearing my Trump 2024 hat today for a very special reason. For anybody that missed it, this past weekend there was this nationwide protest against Trump and Elon Musk. I think it was honestly called Hands Off 2025 Rally or something like that. It was a very well organized event all across the country, and if you've been on social media at all this weekend, you've probably seen something about it. I don't do a whole lot of social media. I try to limit it because I truly think that social media is the spawn of Satan and it just destroys our society as a whole. But I do have my moments when I'm bored and I spend way too much time on social media. So I'm sure some of you guys have seen it on social media. It's probably even made some headlines on, typical mainstream media. But it's definitely been a big event all across the country. And of course, today, when I get up early and before I really start my day, when I'm drinking my coffee, it's when I scroll through Twitter the most and see what in the world's going on. There were tons of posts about it, tons of articles, tons of videos. And it was just kind of comical, kind of sad, but definitely entertaining either way you look at it. Videos from all across the country where people, just individuals, are going out and videoing the event and asking people that are there protesting what they're protesting. It's a pretty broad range of the videos that you'll see. Some people are super aggressive. There was this one lady that did a video, and she's not agitating at all, at least from the parts of the video that are public. She's just going around asking people, what's your issue with Trump? What's your issue with Elon? There's this older guy, and he looks like he's had a rough life. He is so angry, and I can't remember if he's cussing a lot. I feel like he's not. There may be a couple of cuss words in there, but overall, he's just extremely angry and really hates Trump and really hates Elon. And not that he's aggressive to this lady, but he can barely speak. He's so mad and screaming. If I still have it, then I will definitely post the link in the comments so you guys can watch it too. Because it was quite entertaining, like I said. Then you've got people on the other spectrum of this who have no idea why they are there. They're just there. There's a couple of videos. Again, if I have the links to them, I'll post so y'all can see them. But they really cannot explain why they are there. There's one young guy who's holding up a sign that says something about Trump as a fascist. And the guy with the video, like asking questions, asked the protester simply, why is Trump a fascist? And the guy just kind of stumbles around and he can't answer the question. He ends up pulling out a printed piece of paper to reference why Trump is a fascist. And he never does answer the question. Another guy ends up chiming in and kind of sort of gives an answer, but truly never addresses the question. It just goes to prove these people are there and they have no idea why. They just know there's a protest. They know that there's signs that are being handed out and flyers being handed out, and they just kind of take it. The guy literally admits in the video, I don't know what this sign means. I just got it over there at the shed. So he got it and he walked around. Then there is another one where they have like a banner, and I can't even remember. There's some word on it I'd never heard of before. But again, the interviewer asked the question, like, well, what does this word even mean? And there's a woman, there's two men holding the sign, and then there's a woman walking behind it. The woman behind it has to tell the guy being asked the question, well, what does your sheet say? What does your sheet define it as? So the guy, again, has to pull out his little piece of paper and explain what the banner means. So it just goes to prove so many of these people have no idea why they're there. They just believe that they hate Trump and they hate Elon for some reason that they cannot even explain. It's really sad. They're just jumping on board and they don't really know why. They've just been convinced that Trump bad, Elon bad, go protest. So they're out there. It's really sad that people will just get on board with that without truly understanding the issues. And I wish there was a way to change that, but I've yet to figure that piece out. But I will say the protests overall were really impressive. I will give them credit all day long. It was a nationwide movement. I know the goal was to have a protest in every single state. I have no idea if they made that or not. I don't follow it that closely. But it was a well-organized event. Like, kudos to you guys for figuring this out. I am extremely jealous that you can get that many people out there and be that organized with it. But let me elaborate on how they made this happen. So y'all know me. I get something in my head and I just have to dig into it and figure out what in the world is going on. So that's what I did, is I saw all of these protests leading up to the event. And then, of course, after the event, I started questioning, probably a good word, how they're this organized. Because me being the structural person that I am, like, that's just how my brain works. There always has to be structure and purpose behind everything. So I start digging into the organizations that I see locally that are putting these on. And then I kind of start backtracking. And of course, I always follow the money, right? So here in Alabama, the organization that I have seen the most, and I did a whole discussion on this a couple of weeks ago, is an organization called Indivisible. I know that there's different, like, we'll call them chapters of Indivisible across the state, across the country. I don't know if it's like a national organization and then they create local chapters. I just don't understand how all that works. But I do know that Indivisible was deeply involved in planning these events. From what I can tell, there is another organization, at least in Alabama. Let me start there. In Alabama, North Alabama specifically, the group that led yesterday's march or rally was tied to this other organization called 5051. And 5051, and I'm saying it very slowly because it's not 51, it's the number 50, it's the number 50, it's the number 1. It is an organization, from what I can tell, is truly dedicated to the anti-Trump, anti-Musk parade or rallies that we saw. Their sole purpose was to truly have 50 protests in 50 states on one day. That's where the number comes from. So the local Indivisible groups partnered with this 5051 organization. From what I can tell, that this 5051 really worked with almost every state. At least most of the videos that I saw online, they're somehow tied into all of it. So 5051 is really the organization that was behind this rally this week. And I started digging into them, of course, because it's just what I do. Like, who are these people? Like I said, their main purpose was for this rally yesterday all across the country. And they did a phenomenal job. Again, I will give them kudos. They did a phenomenal job pulling these things together. They had thousands of people at some of these events. So they really had kind of the secret sauce into how all of this works. Now, of course, on the right, we keep saying that these are paid protesters, that it's George Soros funded. And I do believe that happens. I do believe that is true. But of course, I want to be able to prove part of that. So I started digging into this group 5051 to just see, like, who are you? Are you tied anyway to Soros? Like, can we prove this commentary of we are paid protesters? So I have my handy dandy notes as always, because I have to write things down. So the organization 5051, they have a really pretty interesting website. On the website, there's a lot of really good resources. Again, kudos to these guys. They have like an activist workbook out there that is publicly available. You can go pull it down, and it's got a lot of information. Somebody put some major effort into developing this workbook, guidebook, whatever you want to call it. Lots of information on how to put together a rally, what types of posters to have, how to get police security, like all the things publicly available on this website. The one key thing that I found on there, and this of course is my favorite part, there's 4 primary partners that work with this group 5051. One of them, and let me find the right notes, one of them is called No Voice Unheard. When you click on the actual link for this organization, you find out that the website no longer exists. It doesn't work. It's broken. The other organization is called Build the Resistance. It's a legit website. It doesn't have any original content. Basically, everything I saw on there linked to another page or another website where I had the same information that was posted somewhere else. So legitimate, but kind of weird that it doesn't have its own content available. So that's 2 of the 4. The other 2 are my favorite. Voices of Florida and Political, I think it was Revolution is the name of the partner. So when you go on those websites, again, legitimate websites, lots of content, all about, their mission is progressive politics, like all the things. These 2 pages have an option for you to donate to. And lo and behold, when you go to donate to these organizations, if they're not tied directly to ActBlue. So for anyone that's not familiar with ActBlue, and I know I talked about it a couple of weeks ago, but let me remind you who ActBlue is. During the presidential election of 2024, there was this massive fundraising effort once Kamala was determined to be the candidate for the Democratic Party. They raised massive amounts of money in a short period of time, and it was very questionable what was going on and how they did that. ActBlue was behind this massive fundraising effort within the Democratic Party. ActBlue is the primary fundraising arm of the Democratic Party. It's public knowledge. It's very provable. This is not Emily's opinion. ActBlue was then investigated because of these suspicious donations that were made to the DNC. Now, somebody did some investigative journalism in there. I can't remember the details behind it. I just remember reading the articles that talked about how this investigative journalist basically went out and found Sally Sue made a donation of $5,000, and they tracked down Sally Sue and went and talked to her, and she had no idea that this donation had been made. She certainly had not done it, so someone made it in her name, but she was not aware of that. And there were thousands of donations like this all across the country. So there were clearly fraudulent donations to the DNC under someone's name, because there's federal regulations on how much people can donate, all of that. So the theory is they had to steal the identities of all these people to make donations to Kamala Harris's campaign via the DNC. And it was all foreign money, which is highly illegal to allow foreign influence into our presidential campaigns. So ActBlue has been this very suspicious organization for a very long time. There's congressional referrals, I guess is the right way to say that, where they're investigating ActBlue and whether or not they are a legitimate organization or if they're illegal because they're allowing foreign influence. There's a lot of evidence that proves ActBlue is allowing foreign influence into our U.S. politics and elections. ActBlue is a major, major, major issue. You can Google it and find so much information about it, like active ongoing investigations right now in Congress over ActBlue. So anytime I see their name on something, I immediately start kind of scratching my head and picking like, what is going on here? So it is of no surprise to me whatsoever that the rallies this week that are anti-Trump, anti-Musk, while they are very well put together, very well organized, they 100% are tied to funding via ActBlue, because this organization that put it all together, 5051, has their money funneled through ActBlue. The other fun little thing I found on their website is resources. So I click on the resources tab, and again, very well organized that they did this nationwide. It gives everybody that's planning a rally or a protest access to posters that they can print out. And when you click on the posters, it links back to basically like a bunch of PDFs that you can download and I guess print out to take to your events. They're provided by Indivisible. Now, Indivisible, I talked about a few weeks ago, 100% tied to ActBlue as well. So I have found 3 connections now through this organization that put together the rallies that all link back to ActBlue. Again, ActBlue, the theory is how George Soros funnels money into the U.S. for all of these efforts. Now, I can't prove the Soros part of it, but I can tell you that ActBlue is not a good company. They're not a good organization. They are doing some very shady things. And the more of these activities we see in our country and these organizations that are popping up, the more we're seeing that they're funded by or tied to ActBlue, which is very much a problem. So while the events are extremely impressive that they were so well organized and just all across the country, and they had great messaging and they were totally on point, they're giving great resources, it's not like that many people are just this angry and they're going out on their own free will, making these signs and just pushing back on Trump because they hate Trump. There's definitely funding behind this. There's busloads of people that are being taken to some of these events. All these things take money, and all of it's going back to ActBlue. So read into that what you will in terms of who's funding it, but there's definitely some funding behind all of this. And that's why we're seeing this massive amount of people coming out and all the cool signs and all the great things. I shouldn't say great things, but at least from a PR standpoint, all the things that they're doing, it's because there's money tied into it. So knowing that and then looking at the results of what happened in the videos, it kind of is less impressive because you know somewhere in there somebody's getting paid. Even if it's just paying for the buses, it doesn't matter. Somewhere in there someone's getting paid, and that's part of the reason you're seeing the turnout you're seeing. You're seeing the impressive signs and all of that is because it's all paid for, and it's all tied to ActBlue, and it's on their websites, easy to prove. It's not Emily's opinion. So if you've not seen the videos, I encourage you to go look at them because, again, they are pretty impressive. It's worth taking the time to check them out. I'll try to post a couple of links in there for you guys to see as well. But when you read them or when you see them, at least maybe question why the Republican conservative side isn't that active, because that was the frustrating part to me. No, we're not going to pay people to do it because we expect you to just get out there and do it because it's how you feel. But it's very frustrating that many people can show up to protest Trump, but we can't get people to come out in support of Trump. And even if you don't love Trump, love his policies, love that he's fighting for our country, love that he's trying to make America great, that he's putting America first. But we can't get people to come out to rallies for that. But they can get people to come out in the droves for this stuff. So go watch the videos. Let me know what you think. Until next time, have a good one.